Wholeness. Yes, 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 yes. I just wanted to step in here today, man. Show some good love. First and foremost, I want to say like, subscribe, share. Like, subscribe, share. Thank you. So first and foremost, I really just wanted to address something. Um, Actually, it's the whole purpose I jumped in here, man, because a friend of mine asked me, he say, what do you think spirituality is like in 2019? So that became a real deep thought for me. Like, man, spirituality in 2019. What is spirituality like today amongst the different breeds and different levels and schools of thought, right? Because you got to understand that even in the realm of spirituality, it's based upon the perception of the being that you're discussing this with, right? Because spirituality inside of itself is a word it's like religion. It has a vast amount of ideas that will explain what a person can assume spirituality is. In most tenses I see, a lot of people are still practicing religion, but under the pretense or under the title of spirituality. So like I said, it's all based upon who you're talking to and who you're talking about. Because to some people, spirituality has a entirely different meaning than it does to others. And it comes with a totally different set of customs and traditions than it does for others. Right? Some people practice spirituality. Some people live spirituality. You see? So that's the difference. And this is the difference between religion and spirituality. There is a big difference, but because most people don't know how to separate those two, it's easy to get caught up inside of a comfort zone to where when you start to just live inside of the now and practice spirituality as it truly is inside of you, not who you think people want you to be or who you want people to think you are, but when you literally practice spirituality from deep inside of you as it is for you, minus the agendas, minus the anticipation of having followers or getting money from people or any of those things, because those are more so like selfish religious traits. Those are things that we pick up inside of religious factions. So once again, now I want to just go ahead and to give you a brief that I've probably been studying most of this arena of spirituality since, let me say, 2010, late 2010, early 2011. And it was because of a book that I read literally had set me off. But a lot of experiences throughout my life led me up to even being susceptible enough to allow the information that I read in the book to resonate with me as even a possibility. Because let's just face it, I grew up in a very, very religious environment. So religious that everything pertaining to these deities were more so fear tactic, meaning that everything that was discussed was more so in a fearful manner. It was obey this or because. There was no just living in the now and existing in the now as you is right now. So it also made you become very, very judgmental and decisive within yourself, because you have to understand that these religious practices, they're built like that. And now you have the spiritual arena being polluted with so many religious gurus that are already catching wind to the people are leaving religion. They're going into the spirituality or the spiritual world, into the conscious communities. and wreaking more havoc inside of the conscious communities than they had just once, brought upon the people from the religious community. And it's hard for the people to actually understand what's taking place when it's taking place, because it's easy to get caught up inside of the rhetoric when people are talking to you. You can start listening so hard to the things that people are saying that you stop watching and paying attention to the things that they do. And most times when people have this articulate or extravagant way of delivering this message to you, it's because they rehearsed this particular type of delivery. And I'm not just finna go into all of that to deter you from what I want you to understand most about spirituality in 2019. It's like I said, everybody has their own account of what spirituality is. Even the very word spirit, right? The word spirit itself is a word that was created inside of the English vocabulary. Now, even if we say the word spirit comes from or is a derivative of something else that existed inside of a language that existed prior to English, we have to understand that chronologically and etymologically, that word still was created by another civilized or civilizing conquering group. So this is the most important part when I say that it's conscious. I mean, it's very important to be conscious when we're discussing spirituality, because spirituality has so many different faces. And you have to ask yourself, spirituality from what context? Because I myself am a person that have personally been dead 6 times. The last time that I died, I was literally dead over an hour and a half, man, maybe about an hour, 36 minutes. And I had already been marked off, just they had done away with me. But the one thing that I can tell you is I wasn't dead. Consciously, I was alive. I just wasn't inside of a physical body, but I was inside of everything now. It's like I had more of a cosmic, ethereal perception or interaction with the reality. I wasn't restricted to anything. Everything that I see or interact with, or everything that I have inside of my reality, is made up of all of the exact same things that I, inside of a cosmic nature or celestial spherical consciousness, had inside of the space where I went to when I left here. And I've been dead a few times, enough to know that there is no such thing as it. So I have a different context. I have a different understanding to what spirit or soul or what it is to actually interact with or interface with that particular side of reality, that particular side of the consciousness. Because even when you use the word spirit, we all have a different perspective of how to use that word. And everything that we use is so easy for people to get lost inside of and caught up inside of, because they have such a minuscule understanding of what these words mean or meant. And most of the things that people are using to identify their spirituality with isn't real. So this is what I mean when I say you have to be very, very conscious and conscientious and mindful of what you are using to help you identify spirituality with, because it can all become more religious jargon. You see? Because spirituality in its natural sense is just an organic awareness of who and what you are. It's not something that has to be practiced. It's an awareness. Now, the things that you practice for your own benefit to nature, for your own benefit of consciously maintaining your own awareness or your balance inside of this reality. So, and that's the reason I want people to understand this, because it's very easy to confuse the two. And if you don't understand, then you will start to force your religious ideologies or ideological concepts into other people's spiritual plane, tantalizing or sabotaging the journey that they are already on, because you still have a religious aspect or perspective of spirituality. You see, because spirituality exists minus everything. This is a conscious decision that you actually have to know, to make, right? When you examine yourself and say, hey, I feel unbalanced. This is a conscious decision that you actually had to make, to examine yourself first and foremost, and then to come out with the equation that you are unbalanced. But even the things that caused you to become unbalanced were decisions that you actually made prior to that state. So it's all choices and decisions, but it's all based upon a level of perspective of the people doing the choosing and the deciding. But spirituality in 2019 will have many different faces. And it's best to understand that you never judge a book by its cover, ever. You never judge a book by its cover, because when the spirit is actually present, that natural and organic function, that thing that we call spirit and that we use to identify who and what we are beyond this physical realm or beyond this physical plane, which is even an understatement. Because, and I'm gonna say this, a lot of people can gain a better understanding of what spirituality in 2019 or what spirituality will be like, period, even moving forward from here, by gaining a better understanding of what you are buying into as spirituality, right? Because let's just face it, never forget that spirituality, based upon each individual awareness or each individual level of consciousness or each individual perspective, will have and carry its own set of logic, its own set of rules that come with different ideological concepts and beliefs, right? So let's just admit it. I'm sorry, let me clear the screen. Let's just admit it, that spirituality right now has taken on the same aspect of religion, because the same people that just came out of religion are coming into the spiritual realm or the spiritual movement or the spiritual side of things. And they're using the same information to, and it's based upon like they're gathering it. It's all eclectic, right? They're gathering it, compiling it. And it's like, it's really creating the same thing, because if you ever understand the guys that created all of the religions, it's the same thing they did. They gathered all of the different religious texts that was gathered religiously from other texts, and they created their own movement and factions with it. So you have to be conscientious that your aspect of religion is not, spirituality is not religion. Because right now, literally, you are being offered the opportunity to move into some of the greatest and most in-depth states and spaces of your consciousness, places that you never even thought existed. And you're being able to do things inside of your mind, like redesign and recreate your biology based upon your level of thought, based upon your level of focus. A lot of people are not being able to do this. A lot of people are still suffering from a lack of knowledge. And that's what it is. We're suffering from stupidity. You see? So, and it's not to be offended, because anytime you are offended, it just goes to show you that you still haven't grown spiritually enough to understand that the reason you're here inside of this earth plane, this earth realm, is because it is the prison. It is the prison. It is the jailhouse that is housing your consciousness inside of a temporal system for you to go through an educational system, so to speak, right? Because Earth is a classroom, but it's not for you to get caught up inside of all of the different doctrines and religious aspects of how to maintain a balance that you are already in sync with anyway. The planet is off balance, you're off balance. The planet is balanced, you're balanced. And those two words are just duality, different forms of duality. It's like positive and negative, you know, masculine and feminine, night and day. So real spirituality is just understanding that everything that you use to interact with and understand or interface with the reality is just that. It's like using a currency inside of one specific country, right? It's just that. It's just the country. It'll be just the currency that works for that specific country. So the things that you use, don't allow them to trap you into consciously bringing them into your space as definitions or meanings as spiritual practice, because there is no such thing. These are still religious traditions and concepts that have been created by other religious factions and people that had agendas inside of what you would consider as the conscious community now. You are always connected to something that you are consciously in sync with. And in order to convince yourself that you are not consciously or unconsciously connected or at oneness with this thing, would be just rehearsing. You see, practice makes permanent, and it's you're rehearsing it until you finally believe it, until you finally have to condition yourself into practicing other things to reconnect yourself back to something you was never disconnected from in the first place. It's like the healthcare. They have to sell you the idea of sickness, right, which is a placebo, in order to sell you the idea of a healing. But you have to be more consciously aware of if these things are taking place for you inside of the spiritual realm. Because everything that people call bliss, peace, and happiness ain't bliss, peace, and happiness. It's not. And a lot of them are only at bliss, peace, and happiness on camera, temporarily. You see? So outside of seeing that people play spirituality, right? It's like spirituality has become the next big game now. Like the biggest challenge on Facebook, right? Everybody jumps onto the challenges that's being thrown out there, just being distracted from everything else that's taking place inside of the reality, decisions and rules that's being made, right? And we're not going to get into that, but I really just wanted to show you that spirituality in 2019 will come with a lot of trials and tribulations. It will come with a lot of tests. It will come with just as many tests that religion came with in order for you to reach the level that you are at right now, to say that you have gotten out of religion and into spirituality. Some of us haven't gotten out of religion yet. We've gotten out of organized, identifiable religion, and we have jumped into a disguised formulation of religion. And because it is hidden under the cloth of spirituality, we don't understand that we are still stuck inside of physicality. We are still practicing things that are causing us to be more departed from and more separated from consciously what we are always consciously connected to. Wholeness family, I love y'all. I just wanted to get in here and say that to y'all, man, because it's very important we understand that, man. So like I said, please don't be afraid to just stack with me. Like, subscribe, share. Help me get it up there. I'm not asking anybody for anything. Just like, subscribe, share. Thank you.